Kris, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how you doing? I appreciate Mark, man. Thanks for having me. I know we had a little snafu. It wasn't your fault, and it wasn't a technical snafu. It was just me. My brain's been vapor locking a lot this week, so
You know what it's
I'm
called?
sorry, man.
It's called
Yeah,
life. It's called life.
I know. My multitasking skills have severely diminished since I left government service. I can't multitask for crap anymore. I tell you what.
No worries, man. Okay, so right off the bat, do you have ties to Nebraska?
Well, we live in Omaha.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, my wife's from a little city outside of Omaha, and I went to grad school at University of Nebraska at Omaha, and actually I was enlisted, and I was a Mustang, so I was enlisted, and then I did the Green to Gold program to become an officer, and you know about how that works. Um, and I went to ROTC to do my Green to Gold program at Creighton University.
Okay. Right on, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I do. I mean, I wasn't born here. I was born in Colorado, and then we moved around. My dad coached at Brigham Young University for a while, which was a fantastic experience as a kid growing up on the campus there.
Yeah.
Even though we're not Mormon, you know, if you coach the football team and you're on and at that time it was like the Steve Youngs and Jim McMahons and
Oh,
Robbie
nice.
Bosco's and the national
Back in the
championship.
day.
Yeah, they didn't care. And honestly, the people of the LDS faith, they treated us extremely well. I know being a coach at Brigham Young probably helped a little bit to, hey,
Yeah.
these guys are all right. If Lavelle Edwards says they're all right, they're all right. So, because, you know, that's like you live in a college town, and when you have college coaches and college teams like that, whether it's Nick Saban or Lavelle Edwards or Paul Bear Bryant, you know, they pretty much they're higher ranking than the president of the United States when you're states like that. But I got no complaints. And then I lived in Oregon for a little while, and then we moved back to Colorado, and then I got accepted to grad school during my break in service.
Okay. Right on. I asked that only because I had thought at one point you were living in Colorado, but I tried to do my research and I knew that you lived in Nebraska at one point in time and didn't realize you were still there. I'm from O'Neill. I don't know if you know where that is.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, still, that's all Americana. Omaha's kind of, it's not what it used to be. So we're probably going to move. We're going to stay in the Midwest.
Yeah.
But we're probably going to move. The state of Nebraska is outstanding. It's just, I think, just like any city-ish, and I use parentheses around city for Omaha because really it's a big town. It should have stayed as a big town instead of trying to change to a small city. And it's not Americana anymore, man. The cornfields, you know, they're tearing them down and putting up crappy. Excuse me, for people that live in them, I'm glad you got some place to live, but you know the cookie cutter houses, and it's just, yeah, it's not the same, man. When I first moved here 20 some years ago.
I hear you. Well, if you're looking to move, might I suggest Sioux Falls, South Dakota? That's where
Sioux Falls is beautiful.
Yeah, come on up, man.
I know. I'm trying to get warmer though, man, not colder. See, you guys got an amazing downtown. Sioux Falls has one of the coolest little down. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's still Americana. Okay, we'll be there. Let me tell my wife.
Tax friendly. It's tax friendly. You'll love it.
It is. That's true. It is tax friendly. Okay, just can you make it a little bit warm? I know the global warming thing and all that, but can you make it a little bit warmer? I want less snow. It's not more.
You have more snow than we do, right? We have zero snow right now.
You guys didn't get this snow that came through?
No.
Oh wow, that's weird. That is weird. You guys should have like
doesn't happen very often.
No, you should already be around 18, 19 million feet of snow right this time of the year.
That has happened in the past for sure.
Oh man.
Oh man. I like to kind of, this is a show for dads, and I know you're a dad, so give us your dad bio.
Dad bio. Well, I really spread out a bunch of kids. I have a 16-year-old boy that is bigger than me now, which is not hard to do. I'm not that big. I'm a little guy, little ranger, about 5'9", if that. And then I have a 12-year-old daughter, which is beautiful. They all have nicknames too. They all got nicknames when they came out from. I'm trying not to be this, but as a dad, you got to. When they came out of mom, Bubba is the big guy. Bubba's my big guy. He came out as Bubby. It was Bubby initially. So there was Bubby. And they all got their call signs. And it's their call signs. Dad has a call sign, so they each have their own call sign. That's how it worked. So Bubby came out first. Now he's Bubba because he's bigger than me. So you got to call him Bubba. Can't say Bubby. Then Princess, of course, second. And then we have a little guy, 5-year-old. So 15, 16, 12, and a 5. And he came out, and right when I saw him as Peanut. And I even went downstairs to the hospital, little store, and they had those little caps, those little beanies that said Peanut on it. So he's Peanut, but then he also sometimes is a little knucklehead because he's my little knucklehead. But so it's compressed now. So now I call him P-Knuckle. So he goes by Peanut, and P-Knuckle. He's right there too. Oh, sorry guys, he's in the room. I'm watching him. We're watching Masha and the bear together.
Right on.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful. It was a great. All 3 kids, we did miss a lot. The first 2 missed a lot of their lives growing up because that's when I was deploying.
Yeah.
Benghazi wasn't the first thing I was ever into. Actually, that was towards the end of my deploying career. I did one more tour in Yemen after Benghazi, but before Benghazi, I'd been going about 10 years, just
Really?
Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Gulf of Aden, Egypt. Yeah, but it always was rotating. North Africa, and then a 5-year-old was born, and I gotta, now I've got to live. So it's tough, bro. We're probably going down. I may even be answering a question you may have in the future here, but spending time with my 5-year-old now had made me realize how much I missed with my 16 and my 12-year-old. And honestly, for all you veterans out there, some of you are experiencing it. Some of you that were my age at that time in the 30s are going to experience it. It's not a regret, but it's a, man, it's a trade-off.
Things, right? Yeah.
It is. It's a trade-off, man. I really wish I would have been here to spend more time and see my two older ones grow up at that age.
Right.
But then you think, well, dang, I would have missed the experiences overseas. So it's a pride thing, and you got to, in a bad way. It's you got to watch your pride. Is it an ego thing or not? But at least at least God sent us this 5-year-old, our little guy.
Amen, man. Amen. Well, and because of that sacrifice, I always like to thank vets who are on the show, man, because of that sacrifice away from your family. And, your family deserves a thanks as well, because they have to live without their dad. And you can see in the background for the guys listening or watching to this, rather, I've got a flag on the wall back there. I didn't serve personally, but I have a lot of family members who did. I have a ton of respect for veterans who served at every capacity. So thank you for your service.
Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we fully recognize the sacrifices.
It's tough, and it hits you later. So, but I knew that, it wasn't something that I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't ready for it. You take these things and you go overseas, and it is sort of an ego thing, right? And for all you veterans, don't tell me it's not. It is. You're feeding your ego a little bit. You're like, hey, let's go get after it. This is where you're testing yourself. Let's see if we can handle this. And you want to see how much of a man you can be.
Sure.
But towards the end of it, when you start to realize that you're not that young bull anymore, and your wisdom starts to kick in. My wife's going to disagree with you. I have no wisdom. With my wife, was just like, you have wisdom? What are you talking about? You have no wisdom. But when the wisdom kicks in, you think back like, man, I really did sacrifice one for the other. And it wasn't that one would have fulfilled me better than the other. It was just a choice. You had to make that choice, one or the other. And again, but God's good. God takes care of you. So I made the choice, but then he said, you know what? Here you go. Here's your 5-year-old. Now you can experience that little baby time growing up.
Yeah.
And so I won't say it's the best of both worlds, because I still have a little bit of, man, I wish I would have been home a little bit more for my 12 and 15. I wish I would have experienced more and got to be around them more when they were growing up, and got to see the more of the peeing. I think it's all when they wake up. Oh, I peed the bed. Hey, you think like, man, I'm glad I missed that. And I'm thinking to myself now, man, I wish I would have been home more for stuff like that, or slicing up apples, or baking them cheese, or have them come up and give you a hug and say, please, can I have your iPad, Daddy? That sort of thing. So, yeah, man, so you guys that are in, just realize that you're going to have those little things, and it's not regret. It's just, man, I wish I would have had it. So when you are home, experiences and take in as much as you can, which I didn't do, which I could have done more. So I should have listened to the guys above me, and I didn't. So now you guys that are not going to listen to me, then you can spread it down the line when you get older too. But again, it's still an awesome. I'm glad that God gave me the life that He has so far of the
Yeah.
past that He's provided in front of me.
Yeah. Well, that's a good outlook, man. Well, I mean, I want to circle back to that aspect of you missing out on some of your early fatherhood later on, but you kind of touched on your military service a little bit. Unpack that a little bit more.
Sure.
What, for the guys who aren't familiar with you for whatever reason, what branch did you serve in?
Sure. I was in the Army. I actually had two different stints. Both times I served at Second Ranger Battalion out of Fort Lewis. So Second Ranger, 75th, Second Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, and 95 to 96. I got in trouble actually, and I got an honorable discharge, but that's because the Rangers really did take care of me. Any other unit I would have been in, I probably wouldn't have. And I wrote about in the Ranger Way. If you want to read what I did, go ahead and buy the Ranger Way or rent it or get it at the library and read it. But that's when I went to Omaha and got my master's degree. Have one setback, you don't stop, you keep moving forward. Like, well, what should I do? I can't just stay static because then my life's going to go downhill. So when I got my graduate degree, got my master's during that break, and then I re-enlisted and went back in the military and went back. I did it all over again. I did infantry. I did Fort Benning, went through basic training infantry. I only had to do jump week at airborne school. So I did the 1 week airborne school to go get my jump status back. And then I went back to Ranger Battalion, went through Ranger indoctrination, went to Ranger Battalion, went back to Ranger school, got my Ranger tab. And then I became an officer later. So, and that was between 99 to 2001, 2002 is when I was officially discharged. And then I went and spent a year or two I was about a year and a half in the Guard with 19 Special Forces Group.
Right on.
And then I was diagnosed with, I had it. I didn't know I had it because I didn't know what it was, but I had it for several years. I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is inflammation. It's bad. So it's basically, we're with men here. It's when you crap blood because your guts are getting chewed up. They're basically got ulcers all over your small intestines. And I was medically discharged in 2003 from the military. And that was a hit, man. It's like, what am I going to do? And all of a sudden,
yeah, because you had gone through not that long before, you'd gone through everything all over.
And I was doing very, very well. I actually could have got a team at Ranger Battalion, but I chose to become an officer, and I got my commission, and I was like, well, I'm going to go back to Ranger Battalion as a platoon leader. And I actually was set to do that after infantry officer's basic course, and because I didn't have to go back to Ranger school, and they were looking for guys that had experience at Ranger Battalion because they knew something was kicking off. They knew that 9/11. I mean, they didn't know that the tower, all that was going to happen, but they knew something was kicking off, and we were already starting to send troops in Afghanistan. So they wanted experienced guys from Ranger Battalion to go back and be PLs,
sure.
Platoon leaders.
And can I just say, like, for you to get discharged and then go back to school, lay that foundation that you knew you needed, and go back and do all that all over again. I mean, what a testament to your grittiness and your character. Like, seriously, a lot of guys would have just like rolled over. I'm done.
And that was from my dad. My dad's a West Texas, grew up outside of Lubbock. He's harder than woodpecker lips. He is. He's amazing. And he grew up without his mom and dad. My father, his mother and father died when he was just a baby. He never knew him. But he would always say, "Hey, man," and it's the same thing he said. I used to remember it. Fall off that horse, get back on it, and keep going. And I still remember that. That's all I had in my head. It's like, well, I'm not going to fail. This is not going to happen. My dad would have pushed me. He kept going in my head, get back up on the horse. And that's what I did. And it was a little bit easier the second time because I was able to prepare for it because I knew what was coming. That's part of the issue. And that's part of where guys quit, and men or women quit on anything. It's they mess with their heads. They anticipate and make it worse than what it actually is. When you just prepare yourself for whatever can come. And that's what I did. I mean, I was in good physical shape when I was in the first time. The second time I was in, I was like, dude, I could outrun the drill sergeants because I knew it was coming. So I would just crush myself when I wasn't working or doing schoolwork. And so when I went in, man, it was game on. It was unbelievable. Just just how prepared I was, and I was prepared mentally for it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was hard, but it wasn't as hard as the first time because again, my mind, and that's your biggest asset. My mind was like, okay, this is going to suck. All right,
Yeah.
just embrace it. Just get
Yeah.
ready
So you
for
had a little bit of an advantage, I guess. But so knowing that you went through basic and Ranger school
it. Yeah.
and everything that entails twice, knowing that you got discharged in 2003, I think you said, like,
Yeah, 2003. That's when
what did that season of life teach you though about yourself that you maybe didn't already know?
um that hard work does pay off, really does. It does on the positive side that
Sure.
you can prepare yourself for anything, and that your body can physically. Can you hear my little boy? I'm sorry if I need to get
Nope,
him.
no worries.
Okay.
That's life, man.
I know that you can physically handle anything as long as you mentally prepare yourself for it. Your mind is the strongest muscle you have
Yeah.
in your whole body, and that taught me that my gosh, man, I can really push myself past limits that I never thought I could. Because first of all, well, somebody's yelling at me, making sure that I do, but also if I mentally just accept it, and we call it embracing the suck. As long as I embrace that suck, I embrace it. It's mine. It ain't going anywhere. I accept it. You can press on and
Yeah.
physically
There's lessons
attain.
to be learned in the suck, right?
Oh, exactly. There's always lessons to be. There's many lessons to be learned in the suck. And on the other side, though, when I was diagnosed, and then I had an episode why I was on a training op with my colitis, um, it taught you that you can be on top of the world, and all of a sudden the rug can get pulled out from you, and
Yeah.
you're falling. And really, was what it was like. Holy crap! This was not expected. This was not part of the plan. What it's like, God, what the heck? Excuse my language. What the heck is going on? Um, because you have me prepared. I thought we were going this route, and all of a sudden you said, "No." It's like, is this a cruel joke? And it does have a testament to your faith, man. Because you're like, wait a second. I thought I was doing the right thing. What the heck did I do wrong to do? And it wasn't that. It was that's just life, and you have to find a way to deal with that adversity.
Yeah.
And
And that's just one
another,
test, right? Or one
yeah,
more
it
test
is.
that turned you into the man that you were to become.
Yep,
And I
yep,
think that
yep,
that story so many guys can relate to that, especially believers, who,
yep.
they feel a tug on their heart to make a change in their life and they pray about it and they journal about it and they
Yeah,
just meditate on it and they finally decide to take that leap and they go down that path and then it doesn't work out and then
it is. Yeah,
kind of find themselves in the same boat that you were in. Like, what the heck, God? I
and
thought, I thought we were in agreement here.
yeah, it was because it was really just tearing everything up. It was, I had found the second time I went in, I found that square peg in that square hole. I fit in what I was doing. I fit being a ranger. I fit being an officer. That was what I was supposed to be doing. I was enjoying every sucky moment. I was enjoying, and that made even the good moments that much better. I mean, when you get to that position and that's where you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
you know.
That's a
But
good feeling too.
it is. But what I was neglecting though was my family at the time. And I do think that's where God said, "Hey, come on, balance, God. You got to have balance. One can't overshadow the other."
Yeah.
And when it did get pulled, and I'm not saying that was the reason. Who knows? I don't question what God does. Not anymore. I used to. I don't anymore. It's like I got you. Got it. I know you got the wheel. I know you're going to open paths for me. I'll free will. I'll choose that path, and then we'll see what happens. But it really was where when it happened, it's okay. I came home, and who was there for me to help me through all that? And especially, I was very sick at the time too, because couldn't keep everything in my system. Also colitis, what that does is basically you can't absorb any of your nutrients, and you bleed, and you can't absorb water. And of course, the family was there to help me through it, and they did. I got healed up, and then all of a sudden, the contracting world started up. Not the hammer and nails carpentry contractors, but military contractors.
Yeah.
And I got a call on the phone. I actually got two calls, one from a group called Triple Canopy and one from a group called Blackwater. And they were brand new at the time.
Yep.
And they said, "Hey, do you want to go over back to Iraq?" This was 2003, right? Right
Okay.
when it was about 4 or 5 months after I was discharged. And I was flapping, didn't know what I was going to do, had no clue, had no plan outside of Army. That was it. And I said, "Well, what are you talking about? I have no idea who you guys are. Like, who is this? Is Crank Call?" And said, no, we want you to go over and be a contractor in the Middle East. And Blackwater called first, Triple Canopy called second. And first of all, I asked what it was, but in long story short, um, they told me, hey, no, you're going to go over and protect diplomats, and you're going to do operations under the coalition provisional authority and Ambassador Bremer. We need guys over there right now that have special operations background, at least 3 years, if not 6 years, and you qualify. And I guess one of my Ranger buddies had jumped over and was doing it, and he had given him my name. I didn't know it
Gotcha.
at the time.
Gotcha.
And another one had given him my name to Triple Canopy. And I did tell him, I said, well, I have this disease called ulcerative colitis. They're like, yeah, we don't care. We don't care. Do you have medication for it? I said, yeah. They said, you're fine. So went to Blackwater because they called first. And
Sure.
honestly, 3 weeks of training at Blackwater, learning how to do protective security details, learning how to do protection, and of course, doing all your weapons quals, making sure you can shoot and you are who you say you are. And 3 weeks later, I was in Baghdad.
Man.
And yeah, it was like, I remember getting there. Actually, I remember the biggest thing I remember was sitting there during the training evolutions at Blackwater, seeing Delta guys fight with SEALs and Rangers. I mean, you're trying to get all these alpha males together in
That's so cool, though.
without a commander that can regulate them all, and they're just going at each other. You got the instructors that are all SEALs, with Force Recon Marines yelling at the SEALs and Delta guys yelling at the Rangers. I mean, it was chaos. I learned absolutely nothing in the 3 weeks I was at the
That's
training.
really interesting. There's no leadership structure.
Not at that time. It was so new. It was, hey, yeah, we'll just throw everybody. They aren't going to get along. They'll figure it out. No,
Right.
no, it's not going to work like that.
You got the most alpha of alpha male.
It was, but I remember I would let her, because I was like, I'm not getting in the middle of this, guys, because I knew a lot of guys from both sides. So I would go sit on the bleachers. And I remember one day towards the end of it, I'm sitting on the bleachers watching an argument with us doing for the instructors and some guy from, I think it was from 3rd Special Forces Group, about how the tactics were wrong or different. And I remember I'm just sitting watching it and I'm smiling. And it's a beautiful day. It's a gorgeous day out. It's in North Carolina. The heat's starting to come down a little bit. And I'm getting paid about 250 a day plus per diem to do that, which is great I think that's great. And one of the instructors comes over to me and goes, hey, what are you smiling about? And I said, I am so lucky to be here right now watching this, and I'm getting paid to sit here and in the sun and watch you guys not fight. It wasn't, but just I said, to be here and learn all this. I can't believe how lucky I am, because 6 months earlier I'm on my deathbed, 140 pounds, not able to eat, and it was it was where God said, you know what, this is your path, man. And hey, enjoy this, and it's where you start to learn how awful it could be, which to some of the guys it was awful, because we got nothing out of it. But for me, it was, man, this is awesome. Who who gets this to happen to them, where you're experiencing this and being the first class of Blackwater with the under the State Department moniker. It was amazing. I just felt so lucky, and
Yeah.
my attitude started to change at that point. As far as, why are you doing this to me? It was, hey, thank you for doing this to me.
Right.
It was that, yeah.
That's great, man. So let's use this as a segue into the Benghazi story.
Yeah.
Again, I think most guys listening are familiar, but for those who maybe aren't, maybe give us just a quick recap of
Sure.
that whole scenario.
Well, we're in Libya. We'd been in Libya for the overthrow of Gaddafi. We were at GRS. I was with a group called Global Response Staff, and we provided security to just very low profile security. We also did surveillance, reconnaissance, counter surveillance. We did a lot of fun stuff. I thought it was fun. Worked in very small teams. As far as teams go, at the most you may have 6 guys overwatching each other, but generally it was just 2 guys, and it's one taking care of the other. But we'd been there for a little while, and then at that time, Benghazi had a State Department facility that was very, very lightly protected. And on 9/11, I should say, it was about a couple of days before 9/9/2012, Ambassador Kris Stevens came in. He was with the State Department, very, very high-ranking diplomat. I mean, if you want to give him a rank structure, because ambassadors are on different rank structures. I mean, you have an ambassador that's given an ambassadorship because they donated to a campaign fund. Hey, you're the ambassador to Switzerland. Here you go. And then you're given guys that actually work their way up through the Foreign Service Division that earn that title of ambassadorship. And they're like a 3-star general. That's like Bremer. Wow. Bremer's in one. Negroponte's another one. Khalil Zad's another one. Stevens, Ambassador Stevens. So, I mean, you really have a high value target.
Yeah.
That when he came into Benghazi had no protection. He generally, and this just shows what protection he rated. When we were in Tripoli, and I worked in Tripoli before Benghazi, he rated a special forces detail. He had a special forces team as a security detail. For some reason, they got pulled out before he came to Benghazi. A week before, they were pulled out. And I remember him coming in and going to visit Scott Wickland and Alec Henderson and Dave Ubben. And there's a scene in the movie where we're on the pool, the diving board, and that's me, the guy on the diving board with the chew in his mouth and saying just what's on my mind. I remember that day because I remember we came in and I was like, man, where's the security detail? Well, they're not here. I was like, are you kidding me? And I'd done State Department work before. I was in charge of Ambassador Khalilzad's detail with the State Department in Baghdad. And I had 60 Blackwater guys protecting Ambassador Khalilzad. Stevens rated that same. And I'm just thinking, man, this is crazy. So the scene in the movie where I looked at Alec and Scott and said, if you get attacked by any big element, you're all going to F and die. I did say that. I said, but premonition is not so. I'm not happy to say that my premonition was right, but anyway, come 9/11, the facility, the State Department facility, got attacked. And we tried to get over there. We were held back by our own chief of base. I don't think it was I don't think it was anything that was done out of anger. I think it was just sheer ineptitude and the inability to turn stuff over as a leader to other guys that knew more than what he did. It was just a pride thing. But when we finally did get over there, we got over there. We fought our way over there. It took us about an hour and a half to fight our way over there. And it was only half a mile away or so. And we had to fight the last 400 meters on foot to try to get into the compound, which took us almost 30 minutes, just that 400 meters, just to try to get in. The movie, we had to compress a lot of the time.
Sure.
But when we got over there, we ended up securing the compound briefly, and we couldn't find him. We found Sean Smith's body, the IT operator. He was dead. We found all the rest of the State Department guys, and we got back to the annex. And then from there on out to about 10:30 the next day when we finally got evac'd out of Benghazi. We fought there to about 6, 7 in the morning, repelled 2 other attacks, got hit and on the 3rd attack by mortars, and we lost Tyrone and Glenn Doherty, two of my teammates and 2 former SEALs. And finally at 10:30 in the morning, a Libyan transport plane came and picked us up. And it was for people to say, well, where was the U.S.? Why didn't they help? Why didn't they? Good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. And even the pickup time for a Libyan C-130 was kind of a slap in the face. Like, oh my gosh. And the movie is accurate as well. Bub's team did rent an oil executive's jet to get to us, which his actions, even though he sacrificed his life to help do that, he saved Dave Ubben and Oz's life, because Dave and Oz, if you've seen the movie, they were hit by mortars, and it was about that vicious. Remember, Oz's arm was just dang. He did get up, and the movie's great. Did a great job showing Oz getting up, because I remember getting up and him just trying to shoot with his one arm, just bam, bam, bam. And Tig got up there quick, and they were done. They were.
Yeah.
So it was. It's if you've even seen the movie, it's really accurate. And we got to be part of helping write the movie, write the script, and then being on set. And then our actors, I'm still very good friends with Pablo Schreiber, the guy that played me in the movie. And they really did a good job, because they knew it was going to get hammered because of politicals. It was good. They did a good job keeping it pretty much apolitical. It's not political. The stuff that happened in there is accurate as far as the headship, but just getting the characters and the mannerisms and the stuff that happens and the jackassery that happens. That's what a lot of those movies miss. The war movies, they got it pretty dang accurate.
Well, it is a good movie, just on an entertainment level.
It is.
Movies need to do, but it's also a movie that I believe every American needs to watch, and other movies like it. Just so we have an understanding, as much of an understanding as we can of what you guys go through.
Well, what I loved is they got the fatherhood aspect of it with Jack, because that was, yeah, he got found out he was going to have a new baby, and Jack was having all these issues with the tree at his house and money, because he got in the real estate world and lost a lot of money on investments. So getting that in there, we only got to show Jack's relationship with his wife in the movie, but we all had that same sort of problems at home when you're deployed,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
and things that just pop up. Or Oz's daughter that was drinking, and yeah, I remember. I do remember that Oz that was spot on. Oz had a teen daughter that was getting into becoming a teen daughter, and he was stressed out with that. And Rowan did have little baby Kai. That he had his new baby, and Tig had two twins. So I mean, that's not movie, man. That's all what was going on in our lives at
yeah,
home. Then, and again, that's what I enjoyed seeing in the movie, not
yeah,
just the war parts. Because brother, you can, it's not, you're not being disrespectful by saying entertaining. War is entertaining, even when you're in it. It's awesome.
well,
Hey,
you wouldn't be there if you didn't,
yeah,
I
it,
don't want to say enjoy it. That's not the right word, but I mean,
it is the right word.
you're
You
kind of
do,
wired for it a little bit.
yeah,
So that's why you're there.
and you do enjoy it. That's why you do it. That's why you go over it. You don't have to say you enjoy killing people. That's a
Right.
difference. But
Yep.
enjoying, brother, you can't get those sounds and sights and smells
Right.
anywhere else. And
Yeah.
and when you're, yeah, but when you're able to accept all that and all those years, and that's why I look back now, why God had me go through that adversity, getting thrown out of the military, then getting in,
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
going through the ulcerative colitis and having to deal with that, then getting through, getting medically discharged from the military, not knowing what's going to happen, and then overcoming that and becoming a contractor, then going through the multiple things that happened over the 10-year period before Benghazi even happened. Personal level, going through a divorce, then a remarriage, and all that adversity helped that night. And I can look back now and go, okay, that's why you did it. That's
Right.
why I had to overcome all these obstacles. Because when that night happened, if I had not become over all that adversity before, I may not have been able to come over that adversity that night. Just those little things that happened when the planes didn't come, when no support came, when we were told not to go and we heard guys dying on the rate. I mean, all that stuff that I went through, and each one of us had our own little versions of adversity before that night. We wouldn't have been able to get through that night. God, I said, God works mysterious ways. He
Yeah.
basically says, hey, I'm training you because you don't know it, but this is going to happen in your life. So I'm getting you ready for it. And that's what he did.
That's a good thought right there. As guys, as we go through lives and we hit roadblocks and we
Yeah.
wonder what's going on, there's a reason, even
There's a
though you don't
reason.
understand it in the moment
Yep.
or in the
Yep.
season, because those moments can last seasons, right? And you just
Yep.
don't, what's going on? Well, I'm
Yeah.
trying to do
Says
everything
what?
that I can to right the ship here, and it's not happening. There's a reason, and at some point in the future, it will become clear, or maybe on the other side of heaven. But there is a reason.
There is a reason. And learn from it and overcome that obstacle somehow, around it, over it, through it. Just don't quit. Because, if any of us would have quit that night, any up on the team, that would have been the weakest link, and they would have over in the compound, something, we wouldn't have made it out of there.
Yeah,
But that is again a testament to what God does. And he trains you for that.
yeah,
And
man.
yeah, we can go a little bit longer too, brother. I talk too much. So if you want to go a little bit longer, we're
Oh,
fine.
that's good because I have more questions.
Yeah, come on, come on.
I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna get.
Yeah,
through my-
now you know how it is with my podcast. When I try to have guests on, I just have to shut up, because if I don't, if I don't, then like, oh my gosh, this is for you guys. This is not for me to talk. I'm supposed to be the host. So
No, it's all good. Um, I'm curious. So, that event was a number of years ago,
yeah,
but you've had a chance, the book and the movie, and you speak about this a ton. Like,
yeah.
how are you doing today? Like, do you have any demons?
The first I did for, yeah, I have a picture, and I've posted every once in a while. Um, it was actually the day after when we got to Germany, and we were at the air base there in Germany. And there's a picture of the team, except for Oz and Tyrone and Bub, of course, because Oz was severely injured. And then, of course, Bub and Rowan had died. Of us taking a picture of me, Jack, Boone, and Tig. And then there's Alec Henderson's in it. And I mean, Scott Wickland's in it, plus a couple CIA people are in it. And I remember looking at the picture, and we're all like smiling. And I'm looking back going, thinking of it, because I remember that night going, and I'm like, I don't even know why I was smiling. It's like, I shouldn't have been. I honestly, I feel bad when I look back at the picture now. So like,
Thankful to be alive, perhaps.
maybe that, I don't know. I don't think so. I go, man, I shouldn't have even been smiling. Why do we even take a picture? I mean, how disrespectful. So and maybe that was it, but that is a demon that creeps up, because you're like, man, I'm smiling right here the day after. And
Yeah.
that's, to me, I shouldn't have been. And as we kept going, we did the movie, we did the book, we did the movie. It was very successful. We're out on the road, promoting it, having that experience. That's an experience in itself.
I'm sure.
Having, going out with big movie producers, or the book, which did extremely well, and you're on every TV. And at the time, the climate was the election going on,
Right.
and they were finding out that, wait a second, the administration is lying about what's going on. We're starting to hear snippets that this didn't happen that way. It happened. And this is from the guys that were there. And then when we finally did come out, and we went on the news, and the book was out, and the book was coming out, guys like myself are not built for that kind of stuff. We never wanted to be in the spotlight. We never wanted to be. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say I wasn't good at it. I was. I was. My personality puts me that I can get out in front of people and say what I want, because I don't care what you think. And I'm not afraid to be in front of a camera. I'm not afraid to be in front of a crowd. It doesn't intimidate me. I'm not a guy that needs to picture people in the audience naked when I'm speaking, because it doesn't bother me to be out there. But even that time, I was starting to you start to lose it. Your ego. I can see how people in Hollywood, some, or that are influencers or stars or professional, how they become arrogant and conceited. And I can see that, because you're like, oh my gosh, everybody wants me. Everybody wants to talk to me. I must be that good.
Yeah.
And you're not. And I did for 3 years. I lost myself. And I spent time away from my family. My wife, which we reconciled, my current wife, she's in the kitchen there, I think, somewhere around here. We actually ended up getting divorced again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a hard time. That was probably the worst time of my life. And people think, man, that should have been the best. No, it's probably the worst. And because you become so full of yourself, you forget who you are. And I wasn't Tano, the guy that was deploying. I was Tano, the guy that you see on TV. And yeah, it was terrible. And I had to scratch my way out of it. And I went to some really, really down lows, because, here I am again, getting an opportunity to have a young child again, my 5-year-old. And here I am again out on the road, missing all that time I should be home with the family, which God said, here, you're given an opportunity to be home with the family again. You're not going to have to deploy anymore. And I was pissing all that away. And it was tough. It was tough to get out there and speak about overcoming adversity when my own adversity was kicking my ass at that
Yeah.
time. It really was. And I did. I did attempt I had 3 suicide attempts during that time period of guns here, and here. And one at the end, it's when I remember I was so distraught, just so low. I looked in the mirror and I was like, man, do I want to live the rest of my life like this? This is not me. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be away from home anymore. I don't want to do news and be a TV guy anymore and be this. I need to get my shit, excuse my language, but I need to get my shit together. And I remember I put the gun down, and I was alone in my house, up in my shower up there, doing the best version of the Crying Game. If you've seen the Crying Game, in the shower cry. Since I look back, you're like, man, it actually is kind of funny. You have to look at everything with a sense, laugh at everything. Laughter is the best medicine. But it's like, man, I can't do this anymore. I got to fix myself. And of course, me and my wife now, we reconciled. It took us a little while to get through some of the stuff that I'd put her through, but it was awesome. It was like I threw that life away and said, okay, I'm doing this on my terms now.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. And brought the family back in. And you think you're the hardest SOB out there. Every alpha male does.
Yeah.
But the reason I was hard when I was deploying and I was tough, I could withstand it, is because I always had family supporting me back here.
Yeah.
Those 3 years of the book and the movie and being out there on the road and all the silliness that goes with being out there on TV. I didn't have the family there, and it was like the bottom fell out. And then when I realized, wait a second, I'm not the hard ass. It's the family that's the hard asses that are keeping me straight. And I brought them back into my life. Well, I think people have seen it just even with my training or being not, I've accepted that. Yes, I am an influencer per se. I've accepted it, but now I'm able to accept it happily, and I'm doing it the right way because I brought the family back in. The family's the one that's the strength that's propping me up. And my wife pretty much runs my entire company of things now. And that's been great, man. So, but those 3 years it wasn't sunshine and rainbows. It was probably the most difficult 3 years of my life. And I was probably I wasn't happy. Not have, I had happy moments, but I wasn't happy.
Right. Man, I did not expect us to go here. I didn't know that about you. Thanks for sharing.
I want guys to know that they need to, because I lost another buddy 2 weeks ago that committed suicide, and that's we're getting into the 30s now. I have no problem talking about it because I think that if it can help somebody else get through a tough time, because there's no need to quit on yourself. We don't quit on anything. Rangers, SEALs, Deltas, Recon, we never quit anything. But then we quit on ourselves, which makes no sense to me. It's like, man, we're the heart. So you're going to quit on the most important thing in your life, and that's yourself. You're going to quit on yourself.
So speak to guys who are going through this right now, because there's a lot of them out there who are, especially in 2020, right?
Yeah.
All the crap that's been going on. And you just hear this. We're all isolated to a degree. So for guys who are going through that right now, who don't have that background that you do, the SEAL or Delta or Recon background, who maybe aren't the alpha males, like, what do you tell those guys? How do they get over this hump?
Sure. Well, I think alpha actually it's harder on guys like that, because when they don't feel like they reach a goal, it knocks them all the way down to ground zero. It really does. So honestly, I really think this should go out even mainly to the alpha males. Is like, you have to show that, hey, okay, I can't do this all by myself. That's the alpha male mentality. Well, I can, man, I'm a man. Right. I can do it.
I don't need anybody's help.
Yeah, I don't need nobody's, because that's how I felt. That's how I thought. No, and that goes to everybody out there too. You can't do everything yourself. You need someone to talk to. You need that family. If you have the family, you need to reinvest yourself into the family. They're the ones that are going to pull you out of those doldrums, because that is your support group.
Yeah. Or that maybe a brotherhood, right?
A brother. If you don't have that, you have close friends. If you've served, you probably have somebody you've served with.
Yeah.
If you're, but on the flip side, if you do call a friend and you're that friend that gets that call, sometimes tough love is what you need to say. Don't enable them to continue to be distraught or down on them. Oh, hey, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to be good. It's like, hey, dude, get your crap together. You're tougher than this. You can handle this. And because sometimes my worst thing, what bothered me, and what made things worse, is when people would come and they kind of coddle me, like, hey, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And eventually it was, you wanted that coddling. You're like, man, I need somebody to coddle me today, instead of being myself and be like, okay, I can get myself out of this. I got my support group. They love me. I can beat this. That's the mentality that you have to have. I towards the end, I hated getting the coddling calls or text. Hey, you all right, dude? Hey, man, I understand what you went through. You're going to be fine. Hey, I needed hey, man, this is actually what helped me. It was a Ranger buddy of mine, and his name is Ben Morgan. He actually teaches with me on my battle line courses. He says, hey, dude, you need to effing fix yourself. That's what kicked my head. Like, you're right. I mean, it was because I was asking, I'm like, man, I feel terrible. What's going on? He says, dude, you just need to effing fix yourself. And I know it was simple. I know there's an expletive in there. I know it's a tough love story, but that is what got me finally jolted to, here's the path I was on, boom, knocked me to this path. And then I had to grind through that path, but that was the right path. And another thing is that it's going to get better over time. Things will improve. We are in this dang fast food society that we want stuff to improve right away. That's once in a while. Most of the time it's going to take a while. And it took a year and a half, almost 2 years for it to finally get out of that rut path that was the right path, but I was still spinning my wheels every once in a while, and just continue to take off where I'm at today.
Yeah, man, that's
So
a great point. The right thing is always the hard thing to do,
the
right?
hard thing to do.
It's
Yep.
gonna take time. And I think it's an important point for guys to hear that, like your buddy who told you what you needed to hear, not what you wanted to
Not what
hear.
that's it right there. Yep.
But you were able to receive that because there was trust there that had been
Yeah.
built up over time through experiences, right? So
Yeah.
you knew where it was coming from.
Yes, that's a
So
good
I
point.
think it means more when it comes from a guy like that versus some other Joe Schmo who would have said that same thing to you. You probably would have been offended and maybe even popped the guy.
It possibly, yeah, I probably would have said, "What the who? What are you talking about?" But you're if and that's what I tell my close friends that are going through. I'll hit them up. There's time you can tell if they're close buddy, and I'll say, "Hey man, you all right?" And like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I said, "Don't you ever do something stupid." I'll do something like, or don't you just quit crying, get your crap together, and get it. I'll do something like that, and it's a little bit scary when you do it the first time because you're like, oh crap, I hope I didn't just push him over the edge.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if you do the coddling thing over and over and over, all you're doing is you may not push him over the edge, but you're leading him or her to the edge to finally
Yeah.
fall off. Now, for the guys that are having issues, though, I do recommend find somebody, not even just your brother. I saw a counselor. I went and it did. It initially helped me. 3 or 4 visits. It really did because it was somebody that I could that didn't know me from Adam, so I could tell him in a closed setting, private setting. I could tell him everything that I was really feeling. Which sometimes, as an alpha male or a man, it doesn't matter if you're alpha male or not. I think alpha male is a contradiction in terms anyway. If you're a man, regardless, sometimes it's hard to express your feelings to somebody you know. So initially that was great for me. And at about 4 visits, I was fine. Then I was comfortable and I could talk to somebody else about it because I knew, you know what, I don't care if they think I'm a wuss. If I need to talk to my buddy, and your true friends will not think that. They
Yeah.
never will.
Yeah.
But it did help. And don't be ashamed to do that. Know that I did it. And if that helps somebody say, you know what, I am going to go talk to like a professional therapist or a counselor, do it. It did help. But there are times where you do know that it's run its course, and now it becomes into an enabling thing again, where because a therapist generally won't give you that tough love. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, you'll get one if it's a veteran, but it generally will be, yeah, every once in a while. If it's like a Vietnam Ranger or something, maybe. I got one of those. It was awesome, but it does help at least initially because it makes you feel good. You get your confidence back. You know that you're not some weird. This isn't wrong to feel this way.
Right.
But and then you'll know when it's time to, okay, I'm good. I got Plank. You forgive me what you needed. And the therapist, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
You're not, and then you start getting the stuff you need also from your buddies, from your brotherhood, or from your wife, or from your mom
Yeah.
and your dad, which my
Yeah.
mom still tells me what to do after all this still, but it's okay. You need to hear it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So all you tough guys out there, let down your guard
just a little bit.
just a little bit, open up just a little bit, be a little vulnerable.
Yes.
You're going to be okay.
It made me, after it was all said and done, it made me tougher, but it also made me realize I still have those nights. You always will, guys, where you either miss the job. You do. You're going to. It was part of your life, and it was fun, and you don't get those experiences.
Yeah.
Or there are times where you're like I do, where I'll look at my 5-year-old, and then I'll look at my 16-year-old, I'll be like, gosh, I wish I would have spent more time with him when he was 5.
Mm.
And my 12-year-old as well. You're going to have those nights, but then also I look like, man, I'm blessed to at least be here now, and I'm experiencing what I can right now.
Amen, man.
And that
There's a
helps.
reason the windshield's bigger than the rear view mirror, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, too, it's good to ponder the past, but we shouldn't dwell on it.
Dwell on it. Yep.
Yeah.
When you take that shot, when you pull that trigger and take that shot, when that bullet goes down range, you can't take that shot back. And
Right.
it's the same thing. You just got to re-aim and shoot again and hit the target. That's how I look at things. But it is. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I still don't have nights, and I will for the rest of my life. But when you sign up to do the stuff that I did, or you're going into those units that are gone all the time, that are going to see atrocities, they're going to see a lot of you will see death. Know that that's what you're getting into. And I think that's what helped me a bunch, was that even though I didn't know because I'd never been in it, I knew that towards the end of my career that I was going to go through some things that I'm going to probably have to experience the rest of my life, and I was going to be in my head. And I was okay with that. It was almost a romanticism that you had, but
Yeah.
I accepted it. So,
Yeah.
Nobody
Well, again,
can.
man, I thank you for your service and your willingness to take on that burden,
Thanks,
because it's going to, like you said, it's going to be with you for a while. I have no doubt that, you've had an amazing career, and the experiences that you shared with those guys in Benghazi, it's going to be part of your legacy, right? And how you persevered through your military career twice.
Right.
It's going to be part of your legacy. So I try to ask all my guests, legacy brings certain things to mind to a lot of people, but when you hear the phrase an inspired legacy, and if Kris Paronto wants to leave an inspired legacy, what does that mean to you when you hear that?
Just being the best dad, person, friend that I could be. So, yeah. So when I am being laid to rest, people will look back and like, man, he was a good dude. That's all. Nothing else. Man, he was a good dude. That would be the greatest thing in the world for me. Not that, oh man, he was a hero. Oh, he was. I hate being. I'm not. I did my job. There's people that have done a lot more than me. Oh man, he was remarkable. Oh, he inspired me. No, just, you know what? Fist bump. Tanto was a good dude. That would. I honestly, I'm almost tearing up thinking about that, because that's all I want. I just want to know that I helped others, and that good dude, and that means a good father, means a good husband, means a good friend. I mean, being a good dude, that encompasses all those things. That's it. Just simple thing like that. That's all I want. And then having a beer in heaven with all my buddies up there, and my and my grandma and my grandpa, who were really, my abuelo and my abuela, they really did help me get through a lot. They were immigrants, and they excelled. They never quit. And my father, I hopefully my father outlives me. I hope I have a lot more I mean, I hope. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I hope I outlive my father, not in a bad way. I just want my father, if he's up there too, because my father and my mother inspired the heck out of me too. None of them quit on anything. They did.
Yeah. Well, and you haven't quit either, man. So again, thanks for all you've done. And thanks for sharing your story today. I want to be respectful of your time. We're about 50 minutes deep. So,
oh, dude, I talk too damn. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Average length for me. So it's all good, but
okay.
Man, this has been awesome. And if you don't have anything going on in the future, I'd love to have you back on, because I feel like there are so many things I didn't get to dive deeper into.
Yeah, no, definitely will. I love Christian and faith podcasts. I love that, because the word needs to be spread.
Yeah.
People, I do see a positive side a lot. That people are bringing God back in, and that's important. I think a lot of our problems that we've had in our life is because we've shunned God. We've made it a side note, and 100%. We think we're important. Now, I would be more than happy to, and I'll get my times right too. So I'll do 22 push-ups for you when we're off the air. But yeah, please have me on, and don't just be lip service. I mean, I really enjoy doing the faith-based podcast, because this is what people need to hear. I believe so, and I need to hear these sort of things as well.
Well, that's why we're here, man. I appreciate those words. Where can people go to follow you and keep track of what you're doing, and maybe what you have coming up in the future?
Yeah, I got all that crazy stuff. Well, I have my own website, KrisTantoParonto.com. I did get into, I never thought I was going to merchandise anything, and people will just say, hey, we want this. So my buddy of mine, Jeremy Mitchell, who's an Army veteran, helped me get a website up, and another friend of mine, Zachary Stern, and my wife, of course, who runs it all, TanosGearLocker.com. It's what the stuff that I use at the range, and I believe in. But then if you want to see just the stuff on Instagram, it's just real_Kris_Tano_Paronto on Instagram, and it's verified. I get a lot of fake accounts out there, guys, so just make sure it's got the blue check mark. And then Facebook, it's just Kris Paronto. I don't do Twitter. I don't do the TikTok stuff.
Yeah.
Twitter's just angry. That is such an angry, terrible place to be.
Twitter
And
needs to go away and the world would be a better place for it.
you are so right. Amen there. And TikTok, dude, I'm sorry, 50-year-old on TikTok, that just seems kind of weird to me. Now, I'm too old.
Well, we'll link to all that. We'll link to all this stuff in the show notes, man. Kris, again, thanks for your time. Really, really enjoyed this
Thanks,
conversation.
Mark. Thanks for having me, brother. Thanks for letting me talk and run my suck for a little bit. Thanks you so much, man.
Talk soon. See ya.